All right, it's that time again. If you can believe it, it is already time to pick the next Charlie Darwin sewing pattern to bring to life. I know, it seems like we just released the Finch sewing pattern, but these puppies take me like 8 to 10-ish weeks to get ready for you all, so I'm ready to start cooking on the next one. And I've got a quick survey in the description below where you can vote for what the next pattern is, but don't go to that yet. Watch this video because I really want the opportunity to show you really what the different options are. I think in the survey, just seeing like one photo and a name of something, you're not gonna understand all the nuance of like the cool design details I could include in each one and like what would change about it and stuff. So watch this video first, and you can even watch me on 2x speed so you can get to that voting survey. But hold tight, that link is in the description. We'll get to that. And if we haven't met yet, hi, hello, I'm Leah, and I have a handmade clothing business called Charlie Darwin Textiles. Basically, every spring or fall, I create a clothing collection that is 100% linen, dyed with pigments from plants, and my customers can purchase it over on my website, customized to their exact body height, which is really special. But for everyone who wants to just DIY my designs, I am actually working away at digitizing all of the sewing patterns to Charlie Darwin designs, and I'm trickling them out every few months. And as a lot of my customers have noticed, each pattern is getting better and better. And it's just been really exciting to help you all start building your own dream linen wardrobe. You can purchase any of my patterns as a PDF, a printed paper pattern, or a full sewing kit, and they all have an optional sewing tutorial video to walk you through as well. So we've got a lot to do before we can bring the next garment to life for you. And I want to read from the scripture of yogi tea bags. I've got a peppermint tea going on right now that's pretty freaking good. And the little fortune on the back of my tea says, "Even a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a first step." So you heard it here first, folks. Creating this next sewing pattern will be 1,000 miles, but we got to start with the first step, which is telling you what our options are. If you're watching this before September 8th, I want you to vote in the link below once you've watched this video. Right now, we're thinking fall, we're thinking winter, a little bit more coverage, you know, a little bit more cozy. So without further ado, let's just get into what our options are. All right, so we have kind of like 5 main contenders here that we're going to go through. To start off, we've got the Lichen joggers. They are a total staple in my personal linen wardrobe. They match really well with pretty much all of my Charlie Darwin tops. I wear them with the canary top. They're just like a basic cute staple. I think that they're really great for friendly hangout type things if I'm gonna go meet up with people. And they're also really good for hiking, honestly. They're really nice and lightweight for travel. They are medium to high waisted, and that makes them really good, I think, for tucking shirts into. But let's go through some of the variations that we could consider. So I did use AI to help me edit some of these pictures. So of course they're not like completely accurate. I didn't sew these, but it does help us sort of visualize what the pattern could turn into. So some things we could consider including on this pattern. We could put, you know, a simple butt pocket. You could choose not to do the elastic around the ankles at the joggers and just get a really nice, comfy, straight leg pant. I wrote knee patches up here too because I think like this could be really cool with some knee patches to zhuzh it up a little bit. And we could also consider making these pants into shorts. And lastly, of course, you can always exclude the drawstring. Hey, this is editor Leah. A couple days later, I had an idea that I think is worth running by you. So the Lichen joggers, I think are super cute, but I feel like some people don't love so much having elastic waistband all the way around and they want the flat front, which is why I created the cicada shorts this past spring. And there's no reason why, if I can make the Lichen joggers into shorts, why I can't make the cicada shorts into like a straight leg pant or a jogger. It's really just like extending the fabric There's a little bit more to it than that, but not much. So I want to put this out on the table for you, that if I'll just put jogger on the survey, or straight leg pant jogger, and that way we can get in the weeds on it later, but I want to let you know that this could also be an option for the pants. Yes, I have it photoed as shorts, but we could do capris, we could do joggers, we could do straight leg, no elastic at the bottom. It has like these cool pockets nested into the seam. And yeah, I guess that's another thing to take note of, is these would be a tiny bit more of a complicated sew, because there's some more seam lines, but nothing further than like advanced beginner intermediate. Okay, take that into consideration, will ya? All right. Our next contender here is the Junebug jumpsuit. I do already have a jumpsuit out that's a little bit similar to this, the Sanctuary jumpsuit, but it's like a big flowy statement piece. This one goes in a bit of a different direction, and you'll see it has sort of like a rounded boat style neckline, has that elastic waistband, the patch pockets that I love so much with the diagonal opening up here. And then it has the back. I always get people asking me how to go pee in my jumpsuits before they purchase it, because they're just unsure. And basically you undo a button up here at the top, and this peels open. These are two flaps that peel open, and you just pull the jumpsuit down like a pair of pants. It's really not that hard. It's very simple, well thought out, if I do say so myself, and it makes for a really comfy jumpsuit because there's no harsh zippers. It keeps a nice clean front because you don't have to do any buttons or zippers on the front either. The Junebug, I would say, is my absolute fave for going to literally anything. Whenever I can't decide what to wear to something, my boyfriend says, "Why don't you wear the Junebug jumpsuit?" And I am like, I can't keep wearing that. I wore it to see those people last time. They're gonna think I only wear this jumpsuit because it's just the easiest thing to throw on. You don't have to match your tops with your bottoms. It's super comfy. I feel like I forget I'm even wearing clothes while I'm wearing it. And it's also just very core my style. Like, it's a little bit like androgynous in a way. Like, I think any kind of boxy jumpsuit, it doesn't lean too feminine or too masculine. It's just somewhere in between. And in linen, it just looks really like artsy and worn and earthy. It also has the dolman sleeves similar to the Finch top and the Sanctuary jumpsuit. So there's no shoulder seam, which makes it a little bit easier to sew and, in my opinion, more comfortable. So let's look at some of the variations that we could do. Of course, we've got to go heavy on the sleeves. Now that I've done so many sleeve variations for the Finch top, which you can see over here on the left, these are all the sleeve variations we did. Well, we're doing that same kind of dolman style sleeve where you could really just attach kind of like any different of these sleeve types to it. So I'm not gonna hold back. I adjusted mine for my brother's wedding party, and I added the ruffle to it here, and it just kind of adds a little bit more like flounce and fancy to it, if you will. We could also, I think if I did this one, I would include the pattern piece and instructions for how to do one of these cute little like roll up button flaps. I hate the word flap, but you get what I'm trying to say here. Basically, when you roll up your sleeves or you roll up the hem of your pants, like you can see, I like to wear my Junebug jumpsuit rolled at the ankles. It's kind of nice to keep that roll in place by inserting one of these little button holder things. And of course, this one could also be a shorts pattern. I will say this jumpsuit, similar to the Sanctuary jumpsuit, it has a little bit of definitely a higher waistline. So you can see like right under my boobs here, where if you wore a bra and stuff, my waistline doesn't fall too far lower than that. And then we have a long rise on the pants. I really prefer that. There are ways that when I do this as a pattern, I can include in the instructions how to kind of lower that down a little bit if that's more your thing proportionally, and have a longer bodice, shorter pants. But this is, this is my fave. It helps my legs look a little bit longer because I'm so short. Okay, next up we have a garment from the Charlie Darwin archives. I used to sell this sort of like linen robe jacket thing. Actually, the very first thing I ever sold on my very first Etsy page, I had linen robes, and there are these ones right here, and then over on charliedarwin.com, when I created my own website, I started selling it in a little bit of a different format. So altogether, I have called this two different things over time. This one over here on the left, at some point I called satellite, and over here these ones I called spindle ermine, and it's a whole different video topic for a different day on how I name my clothes. But I will say, I don't really love either of those names, and I already have so many patterns that start with the letter S that I feel like it is very confusing even for me at this point. So if we choose this one, I'll probably pick a whole different name than satellite or spindle ermine. So for now, we're just gonna call it linen robe jacket, and you don't even have to make it out of linen, but it's the inspo, you know what I mean? So let's look at what we've got going on here. This one I think truly has so many opportunities for customizations and making it your own, and that's always a really fun feature for people. A lot of opportunities for like embellishments and color blocking. So let's get into it. I'd say I wear this robe around the house, but I also have worn it as more of just like a jacket cardigan situation. And I'll tell you real quick why I stopped selling it. Like, why is it archived on Charlie Darwin? And it's just because I got a little too customized with it, and I was adding elements to the product that were just too hard for me to repeat and sell. So for instance, on this one, I was doing this sashiko stitching, which is all done by hand, which, as you can imagine, selling that as a product made by me, it just like ended up costing way too much money because of all the time and labor involved. And I didn't necessarily want to do that much stitching for every customer. But if you're doing it like one-off for yourself, like when I made the robe for myself or family member or friend, totally fun. It's like a slow stitching type of fun activity to do. You don't even have to add the stitching. And then when I revamped it as what I thought I was making like a simpler version of it that I could just sew quicker, well, I don't know why I added these pockets that required me to do like hand polka dotting with naturally dyed pigments on this fabric, and it was a total headache to like constantly have that fabric in stock and have the polka dots turn out just right and everything. So I scrapped this as well. But when I'm selling it as a sewing pattern, you guys can do whatever the frick you want with those pockets. Make them super cool, super unique, one of a kind, not repeatable, whatever you want, and it could be so cool. And you don't have to sell it, so that's the fun part of it. So I just want to let you know why I'm not even selling this anymore. It's nothing to do with the design. They're just better for like cool one-of-a-kind garments. So if I do the robe slash jacket pattern, I would kind of combine and offer all the elements of this simpler version as well as the variations of this more kind of complicated version. So you could have the choice to do whichever one you want. For the more kind of, I'd call this one the more complicated one, you have this fun opportunity for color blocking in the underarm. And we also have the asymmetrical ties that I'd say make it look more like a kimono or a robe rather than just a cardigan, because you'd have these little ties hanging down. It's a really fun opportunity to line your garment. This is a fully lined variation of it, and so you can line the garment with a different color. You can see how I did, color blocking with 3 different colors here. And you can also then, because we kind of have this double layer of fabric, it is a perfect opportunity to run stitching, like hand stitching or embroidery, all the way up and down. You can do some fun details on the pocket. It just makes it more of like a fun artsy piece. And of course, I put pockets on here because why not? Oh, and I do want to reference on this robe, we have a more wide binding that goes all the way around and runs through. Whereas you'll see on the next one, I do a much thinner binding around the edges. So looking at this variation, it's single ply. It's, you know, just one layer. There's no lining to it. It's got big, unique pockets. I don't think I did side seam ties on this one. So another option though would be that you put ties on like both sides and they wrap all the way around, or you do no ties at all. And that is more of kind of like a loose flowy jacket. I think no matter what, I would probably, because this is more of a boho robe jacket kimono situation, I would size it so that it's a little bit loose or like a little bit baggy, just kind of like flowy on you. I love a good kind of like wrap around type of thing, but you could always size down to a lower size than you are and get something that's a little more fitted, more of just a, you know, a going out jacket, something you wear in public that doesn't look so baggy on you. You could always size down, and I'll include garment measurements too, so you can see kind of how big the finished product will be. Okay, some more variation ideas I have for the robe jacket. We could play around with the sleeve length. We could also, like I said, do no ties. You could do special linings, and we could also add on our sleeves, we could do those roll up button flaps again, in case you want to roll your sleeves up like 3/4 length and have a fun little detail there to hold them up. All right, our next design up to bat for a potential sewing pattern is Lichen Button, and I love, love, love this shirt for going on adventures. Like, I took mine to England last year with my family. It's just so nice to travel in. It's so comfy. I wear it on the plane. I wear it out and about, and I can kind of like tie it up at the waist, or I can wear it open like a jacket or tucked in to my pants. I tend to gravitate towards wearing this on things like bike rides and traveling and adventure, but Cam is wearing the same shirt here, made in his custom measurements, and it is his truly like go-to shirt for going to work at a, you know, business casual type of job, and also honestly he wears it to weddings. Like in this one, he's wearing the Lichen Button shirt to my brother's wedding party, and you know, with the right pants, it's totally dressy and just is so rich with texture because we have all these like just cool spots on it that the texture kind of pops out. So it can go either way. I find that this shirt is very gender neutral. I'd say leans slightly more slim fit on a male body and a little bit more like loosey casual on a female body. But that's just like in my stereotypical gender norm relationship. If there's plenty of women who have bodies that are bigger and broader than some men who are more narrow. So don't listen to anything I'm saying right now. Just this is what it is. And what makes this shirt, I think, really special, and we're gonna compare it to a different button-up shirt next, but this shirt has these cuffs on the sleeves with that little spot there. I forget what it's called, but like a button placket that basically kind of like opens up right here for the cuff. And we've got a chest pocket, and then we also have a yoke going across, yoke? I feel like it's like an egg term, but for sewing, I don't know. The yoke of the shirt goes across right here through the shoulders, and that gives us a little spot. We have little pleats here in the back. It gives you a little bit more broadening in the back and a softer kind of area hitting on top of your shoulders there. And these details, I'm going to tell you right now, they're a little bit more complicated. We'll get to that in a second. Let's first talk about some variation ideas that I have for this shirt. So first one being sleeve length. Of course, it's pretty easy on anything to go short sleeve, 3/4 length, or long sleeve. The picture I'm showing here is actually already, that's just like my canary pattern hacked. I have a blog post for that on my website. So you can already make this top right here using my canary pattern and the pattern hack post. But the shirt we'd be making with Lichen Button, it would have all those features I said, like the yoke, like kind of a different silhouette. It wouldn't be cropped right here with the drawstring. We can also, on this button-up shirt, we can change the collar style, so I can give you several options for doing either the traditional pointy collar and actually how to add buttons to that pointy collar to really fasten it down to the shirt, keep it from curling up on you, and also a mandarin or band collar. That's that curvy collar that I like to do on a lot of my designs. And of course, in that you can nestle in the selvage edge to get sort of a faux fray like I did here, or little ruffles like I showed on my Finch pattern as well. Now, sometimes on a cool button-up shirt, it's fun to add some like elbow patches. And we also have that trusty chest pocket that could be optional. You put it on yours or omit it if you'd like to. Okay, the next pattern is very similar, but it's very different. So don't get confused here. Bear with me. You're gonna see why I'm including both as options. So the Wren shirt I made in response to the Lichen Button, because for me, when I'm making the garments for my customers or for myself or my family, whatever, all these details like the really cool cuff and the chest pocket and the yoke on the back that make the shirt feel really, I'd say, a lot more luxury, or just kind of like a certain way, it makes it feel a certain way. They take a while to sew. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's more pattern pieces to cut out. It's more steps to follow. So it's one of the more expensive things on my website just because it takes me a lot more time to sew. So I came up with a button-up shirt that was just like the simplest possible version of a button-up shirt so that I could offer classic button-up to my customers for a lower price. That may or may not be enticing to you as a sewist. You might want to go the extra mile on the cool details, or you just want the simplest possible thing. This is where your voting is going to come in to play. So I deem this also a very gender neutral shirt. I made one for my dad. He looks freaking cute in it. You can see here the simpler details, like it has just a regular turned under hem at the sleeve. I'm using the selvage edge here of my fabric to make this spine down the center back. And I think there's a lot of ways that you can kind of tuck and adjust this shirt. You could do sort of like a half tuck. I think that one looks pretty cool. You can leave it untucked. You could tie it in a little knot here. And I also wear this as a jacket quite frequently, just completely unbuttoned and loosey-goosey. We can play around with pretty much the exact same variations as for Lichen Button for this one. We could do short, 3/4, and long sleeves, do the different collar styles. We can even add elbow patches and that cute little chest pocket. But when we compare the two, you're probably thinking, why don't you just make it all one pattern? Or like, why don't you add the simple parts, whatever. We need to talk about that. So if you like one of these options, we need to talk about like, what would the sleeve hem be? So we have this cuff sleeve hem over here for Lichen Button that involves all this maneuvering right here, pleating and buttons and several pieces, whereas this one's just a simple turn under. You might like one look better than the other. And then of course our yoke versus our spine of the shirt for Lichen Button. I will say the Lichen Button shirt is, as we said, more complicated. It's also a little bit of a looser silhouette depending on your kind of body type. And I would say that across the board, the Wren shirt is more of a fitted silhouette. In the pattern itself, it kind of like curves in a little bit more at the waist and back out at the hips. Just a little bit. It's not insane, but it does have a little bit more of that curve to it. So Things to frickin' think about on Lichen Button versus Wren. Also consider, if this is your most exciting one, if one of these is your most exciting one, that's awesome. Definitely vote with honesty. I am unsure if a button-up shirt pattern with a collar is going to be the next pattern, because I just released the Finch pattern and that also had a couple buttons, it had a collar, it was a shirt. Like, am I getting repetitive here? I'm unsure. I don't want to release too similar of things right in a row. But if you guys don't care and that's what you want, this is what you need in your wardrobe, then freaking vote for it. I am up for it. These are a totally different look and vibe than the Finch top anyway. They're just, same category. All right, those are all of the options. I feel like I laid it all out on the table for you. If you have any more questions, you're welcome to leave them in the comments below before you vote. But otherwise, head over to the link in the description to my survey. Help me pick, which sewing pattern do we want to do next? Do we want to do the Wren button-up shirt or the Lichen Button button-up shirt? Do we want to do the Olean joggers? Do we want to do the Junebug jumpsuit or the ambiguous linen robe jacket? There's so many decisions. I trust that you'll make the best one. Now, honestly, don't worry about it. If the one that you want the most isn't picked this time, it will almost surely come up in the future as one that I still digitize and get into the public. I'm just trying to do them in an order that you want most and are most seasonally appropriate and the most exciting to you. I'm so excited to see what you pick. I feel like on the last pattern, I kind of knew you were all gonna pick Finch, to be honest, when I put out the video asking for your help, because everyone was so excited about Finch in a previous video. So I kind of had a feeling, not gonna lie. But on this one, I truly do not know which one, because none of them are just released designs. They are things that I released over a year ago, if not 3 years ago. And so I haven't heard what kind of hype you guys have for any of these yet. And I don't know. I don't even know if I have a preference. I would be excited to make any of these equally, and I probably will at some point. All right, I should also use this video as an opportunity to invite you to become a sewing pattern tester for me for Charlie Darwin Textiles. I just keep having an open door for pattern testers to sign up. I end up choosing about 20 people to be the final pattern testers. So if you weren't chosen last time, you might still get chosen this time. And if you're not sure what pattern testing even means, it's basically you would be volunteering to sew the early version of my sewing pattern. I have of course been sewing these for customers over time, so the sewing pattern itself is generally well-ish formed. But I like to make sure I have double tested it on all of the body sizes and really have people test out my instructions and my illustrations that go along with it to make sure what I'm saying makes sense, make sure all of my files work and print correctly, stuff like that. And so I send you the pattern for free, you give me feedback. Now, my very favorite pattern testers are people who look through the pattern instructions for clarity, grammar, spelling. They look at the illustrations in detail. They check out if the numbering matches up, if the links work, if the design of the page is chaotic or anything is missing. People who look at it with a very fine-tooth comb. That's who I really appreciate as a pattern tester. And also people who are really paying attention to, do the pattern pieces fit together? Does the fit and the body height feel right for them? And how do they feel in it? What kind of mobility issues might they have when wearing the garment? Now, I love all that juicy written feedback, but the other half of being a good pattern tester is sending me really good photos of yourself wearing the final garment. That means so much if it's well lit, if you have kind of a cute background, if you're showing how you've styled the garment and multiple angles and views. a clear photo, not blurry, not pixelated, not like weird and tiny. Those things all really help so that I can show everyone else who's interested in this pattern if it might be a good pattern for them. Like, what are some different design inspiration ideas they could take from what you made, and how does this pattern look on different body types? All of that really helps, and that's what I'm looking for with my pattern testers. So if that sounds good to you, I have another link in the video description where you can go to sign up to become a pattern tester. If you're seeing this video weeks after it first came out, you can still probably sign up at the same link. It'll just end up being for a different pattern, most likely. But yes, I'm always looking for people of all skill levels, from complete newbie, beginner. It could even be like the first garment you've sewn. Like that newbie. I want to know if someone really truly beginner can figure out how to sew my sewing pattern. That's important to me. And also super advanced sewists and everyone in between is totally welcome, because I want the best feedback I can possibly get to make the best pattern I can possibly make. I'm looking for people in many sizes, so all the way up to a 52-inch bust and 54-inch hips generally is what I'm looking for. I think low range is like 30-inch bust and 26-inch hips, 27, I don't know. Somewhere in there, it's probably on the website. Any height, again, any skill level, I'd love to have you. Thanks so much, everyone. Woo! Okay, add your hype to the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!